Hello, everyone. I'm Matthew Kaufman, and welcome to our virtual interview today. Today, we're joined by a very special guest, former student here at Howell High School. He's a two-time state wrestling champion for the Rebels. He's now a nightside reporter for the Eyewitness News in Rockford, Illinois. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Jess Liptzin. Jess, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for joining us. Now, let's go right to the chase. You're a two-time state champion here at Howell High School. Now you're doing the news in Rockford, Illinois. How has that kind of come to play here from being a two-time state champion in Howell to now being the nightside reporter of the Eyewitness News in Illinois?
Yeah, that it definitely plays a huge role. Like the way they both worked out with each other. Like what I learned from wrestling, what I gotten and gained from that. When I used to wrestle, we would have like guys come in and be like, I learned so much just in life from wrestling and what. And when you're in high school, I feel like you don't realize like how much like you're like, what am I? If you're not doing wrestling, what are you gonna like? How is it gonna have such a big effect on you? And it really has though. Just like living day to day life and being disciplined and knowing what it takes to be a state champ is kind of similar to knowing what it takes to be a news reporter at night, a nightside news reporter, or get that job, or work your way up the business and work your way up the career and whatnot. So it plays a huge role. And I think back to the wrestling day, when I need to motivate myself or try to know I know something's not working or know something is working, and how can I try to better myself in that.
Now, from being a two-time state champion, let's go back to those days a little bit, Jess. And
Really back? No, it's not that far.
you were here at Howell High School. Now, kind of the transition from living in New Jersey to living in Illinois. How is that kind of differ for you besides the time zone difference?
Yeah, don't tell anybody in Illinois. I love Jersey way more, but it's definitely a little bit of an adjustment. I'm not the pickiest eater, but I think food wise is the biggest difference living out here. But really the worst part is it's just I'm out here by myself. I got all my friends and family back home in Jersey. And so it definitely is a little bit of an adjustment in that situation. But it's also like, I'm out here. I moved out here. I knew this was going to be how I was going to be able to get my job. I was going to have to move far away. And it is what it is. It's what it took for me to get this spot and this job. And I'd do it again. And I plan on actually doing it again in 2 years, having to go to another place and, move once again.
Now, last time me and you talked a few months ago, you mentioned to me that you were always wanted to be on camera. Is that something you've always known when you were growing up that you wanted to be on camera? Is that something that you kind of figured out through middle school maybe or high school, kind of doing different things? When did you really know that being on camera was what fits you the best?
Yeah, I definitely always wanted to be on camera. I've always not even on camera, but just always like making videos and just telling stories and whatnot. And and when I was like middle school kid, making YouTube videos and that very similar, to what I'm doing now, going in front of a camera, making creating a story, editing it and whatnot. And it just kind of comes full circle. Now, I know I really wanted to be on camera when I started making singing videos on YouTube when I was 12. Thought I was going to go viral. Don't ask me to sing. I'll never tell anybody those video titles, but they're out there on YouTube now. So you can go find them. But yeah, no, I definitely always want to be on camera. And it's not even just about being on camera, but just, the opportunity I have when I'm on camera. And it's usually to, share something of importance to an audience. And that's really the best part of it all.
Now, you look back and you could say when you were doing and when you were in high school, I guess you could say, were you kind of like always trying to figure out a way to be on camera at the high school level, doing maybe like a sports event? I know you do a lot of play-by-play stuff for Japanese baseball, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But did you kind of do things to get on camera for high school, or were you kind of more like I'll wait till I get to the college level and see where that road takes me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's an interesting question because I don't know if I was so much about being on camera necessarily when I was at a high school, more just like getting experience in certain aspects. Like I was in the FPAC program, and so um, we did a lot of film stuff, and like that's not really what I do now, but always getting like that on camera experience and like you know being serious in those situations kind of prepares you to be serious on camera here. And um it was more getting experience in areas I don't know if I felt that comfortable in high school. I was not a good editor, but now I edit all the time, and I started editing in high school, more or less, and using a camera there. So I felt like while I wasn't maybe necessarily trying to start calling play by play in high school, or getting on camera, because we didn't really necessarily like have like a weekly news show or anything like that to where like I can get consistent on camera time. I just tried to, dive into, and explore other areas that I knew I had opportunities in high school to get that.
Now, I mentioned previously the play-by-play for Japanese baseball. How did you kind of get into that? I mean, that's such a unique thing. A lot of people, especially in New Jersey or really all over the U.S., they do more of like American baseball, obviously, major leagues, minor leagues, stuff like that, maybe different international leagues. But how did Japanese baseball kind of fit you, and how do you enjoy, and what do you enjoy so much of doing that?
Oh yeah, calling Japanese baseball was like one of those early like dream come true things for me. In high school, I was a Japanese minor, Japanese language and culture minor, and I also called all the sports for my college. So baseball, basketball, soccer, lacrosse, so much field hockey, all the sports. And my one of my bosses kind of just asked me, was like, we have this opportunity to call Japanese baseball, like, would you be interested in that? And I was like, of course. And so I do all this research and everything, and then it falls through and I don't get to do it. So then a couple months later, he comes back to me. He's like, hey, we got it going again. And I was like, I'll believe it when I see it. But then I got to start calling Japanese baseball games just kind of like that. Like, he knew I had an interest in this. He knew I had I was able to call a baseball game. And the way it kind of works is that, you get a graphic, you get the Japanese graphics, and you kind of get all like the streaming from like a Japanese station. So you can't really understand any of the words on the screen. So that kind of helps in my aspect of like knowing Japanese. Like I can kind of like, teach a viewer that as well, and talk about baseball. It's like really the best of both worlds. I really was an awesome opportunity. Now I was doing that though, like on Zoom and while watching the game on my computer. So the only thing that would make that better is if I can be in Japan and start calling Japanese games now. But no, that was such a fun opportunity.
Now, do you ever see yourself? I know we just had the World Baseball Classic. Do you maybe see yourself one day being in Japan in the Tokyo Dome, calling one of those WBC games?
I mean, that would be an awesome opportunity. That would be super cool. I don't know though. I love calling baseball. I love calling sports. But I don't know if that's necessarily the avenue I want to take. I think I want to be more of an anchor or a host for a show, a sports show like that. Be on that end of it. But I mean, like, if you're asking me, like, would I love to do that? Yeah, I would love to, have that opportunity. And I think that that's something that, you don't necessarily like. I hope some people watching this are like in high school, and it's like, wow, he has a job like this, but he doesn't know definitely like where he still wants to go with it all. And I think that is, I definitely keep that in mind more often now. It's like I don't have to have like that set plan. I'm definitely, of course, not ruling that out and everything. And like if I can work my way to get that opportunity, like I would love that. But I don't know where I definitely want to go with it.
Now, I want to give you two different questions. We're going to do one at a time, but I want to first start with, what is your typical day like if you were calling the Japanese baseball game over Zoom compared to what your typical day like is today for the new station?
Okay. Yeah, way different. So the way the Japanese baseball games work is I will wake up around like 8 a.m. and we'll work with Eastern time for this. So I wake up at 8 a.m. and I usually have like this file where like I have to go into like these files for all the games because the games happened at 1 a.m. Like they happen at 4 a.m. It's across the country. So it's not live, luckily. Sometimes you'd have to do a live game, but that was rare, so we won't talk about that. But yeah, you get up at like 8 a.m. I download the full 5-hour broadcast, and it starts like an hour before the game and like goes 2 hours after the game, so it's just a lot of dead space. But I download that, I put it into a Premiere file, and then I have to edit it and chop it up to about an hour and like 30 minutes to kind of give space because I'm preparing to make it a 2-hour broadcast. So when you and I'd have to like incorporate advertisements in there. So in order to make it a 2-hour broadcast, you got to make it an hour and a half and then put 30 minutes of commercials in there. And then what happens is I then press play and I start recording my voice and calling the game. Now, what I didn't tell you was the research and going into it and like practicing and studying for that because it is Japanese baseball. And I mean, I know a lot about Major League Baseball. It's a completely different game over there in Japan. And so that is definitely not in the exact day because I'm already waking up at 8 a.m. That's very early for me. But I do that research the day before. And then so I press play, start calling the game. And then that probably takes me to about like 2 hours later, 3 hours later. And then what I have to do is start like exporting it, then sending it to like the big database. I don't know. We're getting into the technical terms now. But then I got to send it to a huge big database. I upload it and then it airs at like 4 p.m. That day. So if it's not live, that's usually like how it's going. And then that's completely different for news because like I'm doing all that work in the AM, whereas for news, I'm the night side guy. So I'm working, my biggest hours are from 7 to 10 p.m. But you want me to dig into my night side or my news schedule?
Yes, definitely.
Cool. So yeah, I wake up at around I'd still be sleeping right now. No, I'll wake up around like 11:30, or 11 o'clock. Kind of get ready, eat breakfast and research some story ideas because I got to pitch a couple stories later that day. And so researching some stories and then around 12 o'clock, kind of getting ready to go to work, trying to, look good to go on camera and everything. And then I don't live far from work, so it's a nice, easy trip in, get in around 1:30. So, yeah, and then at 1:45, I head into or we have our team meeting or our station meeting at that point. And I'm on the spot, got to pitch a couple ideas, story ideas for the day. And then sometimes they take it, sometimes they don't. And by then I know my story for the day. And what will happen is I start now having to break out the phone and do phone calls, try to set up interviews, email people. This is kind of where like the annoying reporter comes into play because if I know who I'm calling and I know like your cell phone, your work phone, and your email, I'm calling them all and trying to see if I could set something up. And yeah, after that, usually I hopefully have an interview maybe around 5 o'clock. Or maybe I'm going to an event that day and it's at like 6:30. I go there, bring the camera. It's a one-man show when I do my stories. So I bring the camera with me. I set up an interview, got the mic, everything ready to go, bring the lights out as well. And, conduct maybe 1 to 3 interviews in a day. Then I come back to the station, hopefully around 7 o'clock. If I get back to the station at 7 o'clock, that means I've gotten pretty good timing going. So then I'll start writing a script and everything. And then around 8 o'clock, I start editing it because then hopefully my producer has checked my script by then. And then from 8 to 9 o'clock, I'm editing it. And then about 8:55, I usually press export and send it to the show. And then at 9:03 is usually when I'm on camera to present that story. And then between 9:03 and 10:03, I'm usually writing my article for the web. And then at 10:03, I go on for the 10 o'clock news. And then I'm done for the day. So yeah, that's usually I'm coming home, making myself some dinner. The adrenaline's still going, so I'm usually up for another couple hours, which is why I don't get up until 11:30 the next day. But yeah, that's about the day in the life of me as the news reporter. Yeah.
It's like a long day, you know. I mean, going from, especially today when you're doing this interview with me, it's probably what, like 9 o'clock there or so, probably now, and you usually get up at 11:30. So I appreciate you waking up early to spend some time with us. And what do you think is probably the most difficult part of this job as especially as a night side reporter?
Hmm. Um. Hmm. It does help that it's a Friday. I'm glad to have done this on a Friday. It doesn't matter. But if it was a Monday, it'd have been a little tough. No, I'm just kidding. But what is the toughest part of the job? Just give me a second to think about this. um, because there's a lot, and I just want to pick out the best. um, I feel like the toughest part of this job was kind of just coming in, and trusting like the knowledge and everything for, especially as a first time reporter and an entry level reporter in this business. I feel like the toughest thing was just realizing that I kind of knew I knew enough, to get this job done. I knew coming in, and just kind of trusting yourself with that. I feel like when you first start your job, you're just like, last month I was taking a history class in college. I don't know. I'm not ready for this job right now. Like I'm doing it all by myself. And I feel like it's just like that adjustment from college, going from college to, and really going from like school your whole life where, you're kind of learning and you feel like you just need to continue to be learning, for you to be like doing good. Whereas now it's kind of like putting that learning and education to use and knowing that you kind of just gotta trust your gut and do what you've been doing like my whole life and whatnot. But yeah, I definitely think just the adjustment from school life to work life is a big thing. And I think really also the amount of time, like I don't want to sound like the guy who's just started a job and he's complaining about 40-hour weeks, because that's not why I'm saying this, but I'm saying it because like you go from college where you have like one class a day, two classes a day, maybe, to now you are working 8 hours a day and for 5 days a week. So that also is a little bit of an adjustment. But I mean, it helps doing something that I really love. So yeah.
Now, I know you've done a lot of like play-by-play, as you mentioned, for the Japanese, and were you kind of, I know a lot of kids that are maybe interested in doing play-by-play, maybe do it on like their computer, they record a game or whatever, and they do it. How did you kind of get into doing play-by-play?
Yeah, I got into play by play. I knew I wanted to do it in high school, and I think I was just a little scared and I didn't talk to Mr. Stoll about going to call those games. Um but and he always gave me the opportunity. I but I always knew I wanted to call games, and it wasn't until my like sophomore year of college when they opened up a sports network, and I heard that was an opportunity. And I immediately just broke out like the Yankee game that day and like pulled out my phone, voice memos, pressed record, and like just started going like right away there. I did used to make like highlight videos for like specific players or a team or something like that, and I would try to like narrate those highlight videos. And so to an extent, those kind of like were me calling like the beginnings of me calling play by play. But I really just knew I had the opportunity to apply in my sophomore year of college. And then when I just kind of started doing it my junior year, finally in college, it was like I was calling swimming events right away. And so, like, that, you can't just go into a swim meet and call a swim meet for the first time. That's especially like I've never swam in I mean, I swam, but, like competitively. And so, like, just preparation for each game, especially when I was first starting off. I'm thankful that like the organization I was in was kind of at their beginning, because it allowed me to, be a beginner and kind of get that feel of calling games without being worried that like I have like this huge responsibility. But at the same time, I was also like, I got to prove myself and everything. So I was calling for every game that I called, I probably called like 5 fake games in my dorm room to prepare me for that. And so I feel like that kind of, it was really the beginning of, you don't call six games and like in a weekend, like not love that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now, I know you mentioned Montclair State University last time we talked, and a little bit now, but you had a lot of opportunities, as you mentioned. What do you think helped you the most, especially like obviously going from doing play-by-play for baseball games to swimming? How do you kind of transform from play-by-play broadcaster that you've done before, you've practiced almost, as you mentioned, doing a Yankee game, but then swimming that you've never done before? How do you kind of get ready for that?
Um, it's a lot of just, when I joined the sports network, I was in like, I guess the class that like it was in, and in my class, like there was a couple other broadcasters who were, I felt, pretty good at the time. And I was not afraid to ask them questions and be like, hey, how do you prepare for this? And the program I was in, we had a lot of guest speakers, and every single time a guest speaker gave me their email, I emailed them every single time to, ask for their input, ask how they can help me out. I would go to every single sport. So like not just swimming, but field hockey, lacrosse, sports that I'm just not knowledgeable on. I'd go to their practices and just meet the team, meet the coaches, and tell me, what are you guys looking for in a broadcaster? Because I feel like a lot of times, you can call a game for, the day-to-day fan, but you definitely want to also call it for the diehard lacrosse fan. And I want to know, what do you guys watch and what do you expect to see out of a broadcaster in that aspect? So just, I mean, it's so cliche, but just asking so many questions to so many people. And, even if I think I know something, but okay, for example, I had a really good job. I did a really good job, in my opinion, of preparing for a game ahead of time, making a spot sheet and everything. But when I had a broadcaster, like a really good broadcaster, come speak to my class, I asked them, hey, how do you prepare? Like, even though I have a really good preparation thing, I still ask questions. And then, so I would ask a ton of questions about stuff I knew, because I would get answers that I didn't know, sometimes. And so I think just like that aspect of it, because it's the only way you're going to learn, really.
Now, a few more things before I let you go and probably get some more rest before you head to work today. Looking forward, or looking ahead, I guess we could say, to what you may be doing later on in your career. Do you see yourself doing play-by-play? Do you see yourself sticking with kind of the news in a way? What do you want to do?
Yeah, I don't know. I definitely, I love what I do right now in news. And I'm actually getting my first anchoring opportunity coming up on May 6th. So I'm really excited to see how I enjoy that. Because if I enjoy that, that's kind of what I want to do. I want to be some type of, if I want to stay in news, it'd probably be like some morning anchor. There's the shows like The Third Hour on NBC that I really love. And just like that laid back but news kind of thing, wake up with them in the morning. Or it would be like an Entertainment Tonight, Hollywood Access Hollywood, some type of show like that at night, or like a Sports Center, like any type of sports show I would do. I mean, I've learned every sport, feels like, so I would do really, I would talk about any sport. So I think it allowed, like, knowing that, it has allowed me to, keep my opportunities open. It's why I love the job I have right now, because the job I have right now, I'm working with sports. I'm working with, sad stories. I'm working with serious stories. I'm working with like politics and just really everything. So it's allowed me to see what I like and what I don't like. And I found a ton of stuff I like, and I found a ton of stuff I don't like. So I think just, another year of this job and continuing to find what I like to do and what I don't like to do, while getting the opportunity to be an anchor, and kind of, I know sports, which is why I didn't go for that job right away. Like I took a news job instead, and I know I would have no problem going back. I do want to go back into sports definitely, but I don't know where I'm gonna go with it. But I think that that's a very okay thing.
Now, I know a lot of people, especially people like you on the news or doctors, stuff, people that have a chance at a day job and then the night job or night shift, you could say. What do you prefer? Do you prefer to work during the day, or do you like working the night side?
I think my college schedule has prepared me for night side. So I'm way more of a night owl. Yeah. A lot of times when I'm coming home from work, I go work out. I love to just stay up at night. But I don't mind waking up. I gotta wake up sometimes in the morning, so I don't mind it.
Now, one more thing before I let you go. I know you mentioned you have to write your script, your article. How long do you normally have time-wise to do that before going on? Do you work on that maybe before you head on live or after? What kind of the time frame that you get?
Okay, so my script has to be checked before I could even, do anything with it. So the goal is to get back by 7, because that gives me 2 hours to write a script and edit. But like sometimes I get back at 8, sometimes I get back at 8:30. So I only have like 30 minutes to edit and write a script. And so it's really like, of course the goal is to get as much time as you can, but it probably takes me about like 20 to 30 minutes to write a script. And what that means is my intro, what the anchor says, to what I say, to what is in the actual package, to how I finish it. That's all written and that's all approved before I go out onto air. Now, there are times where I'll go live in the field. So when you are in the studio, that's how that works. But if you're live in the field, that might be like 5 seconds before I go on camera. I'm typing something out. But anything you ever see me say on camera has been written and been checked by a producer or a director of some sort.
Now, this is the last question, and I saw this kind of on your media profile and stuff like that. If you had your own TV show and your own anchor show, what would you name it?
Oh, it's the Jesse Liptzin show.
Awesome. All right, ladies and
It
gentlemen.
gotta go just with the first and last name.
I love it. I love it. Well, that's gonna have.
Actually, wait. I have to take that back. It would be the Jesse Liptzin show, but it might also just be Living with Jesse. Shout out to the YouTube channel that I have. But yeah.
I like that. I like that. All right, so that's gonna do it for Jess Liptzin, the two-time state champion here at Howell High School, wrestling here as well, the Eyewitness News reporter on the night side. Jess, thanks so much for helping me out and doing this interview with me. Much appreciated. And all the fans that are going to be watching this, hopefully they get a lot of information of what it's like kind of doing things like Japanese baseball and the different opportunities, and to always say yes to the opportunities really that you have. So I definitely appreciate it. I know the fans that watch this will appreciate it as well.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I mean, I appreciate you bringing me on. I love talking to people who really want to, go into this field and, have a passion for it. And I see what you do, and like, you're doing way more than I was doing in high school. So, keep it up. And like, this is awesome, what we got going on here. And also just a big shout out to everybody at Howell High School, between all my wrestling coaches and my FPAC teacher, Kintafa and Napolitano, and then every teacher I had along the way, guidance counselors. Like, Howell High School has had such an amazing impact on me, and I definitely am forever grateful for that. So thank you, and yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Jess. We definitely appreciate it. And I'll make sure that they get their eyes on this video to see how much you appreciate them.
Cool. All right, yeah. Thank you so much. Have a good one.